day, everyone. We are the Group 5 and we are going to discuss the Chapter 5 entitled Trends and Issues in Teaching Gifted and Talented Learners. By the way, I'm Angel Sara Girocales from DSU 1B, and here are my group mates.
I am Princess Kate Pasur Trianta.
I am John Del Pachin.
This is Rosala Larcena.
This is Bantog Maria Evelyn.
So, before we proceed to the discussion, let us analyze first the title of the chapter, which is The Trends and Issues in Teaching Gifted and Talented Learners. So, when we hear trends, meaning ito ay uso, issues, problema, in teaching, yung pagtuturo, and gifted is having an exceptional talent. Kumbaga, ito yung sinasabing mga pinagpala, mga likas na matatalino, from the word itself, gifted. And talented learners, mga talentadong bata, yung mga talagang ang tataas ng mga IQ nila. Can a learner be both gifted and coupled with a learning disability? Based on my research, it is possible that a child is twice exceptional or gifted with disability. In this case, a gifted child might also have a specific learning disability. So, posible pala ng isang bata ay gifted with disability. Giftedness comes in different variations. There are some gifted with extraordinary IQ scores coupled with remarkable skills, while others have high IQ scores combined with disabilities. With the latter described condition, the disability of these learners turn to overpower their cognitive abilities, most especially when they are already labeled to having disabilities. May ilang mga bata na gifted na and at the same time ay may pambihirang talino at may kapansin-pansin na kakayahan. Yung iba naman ay may mga kapansanan ngunit sobrang tataas ng mga IQ level nila. So, this chapter aims to examine the characteristic of gifted and talented learners with disabilities as well as present some issues concerning their educational needs. Intended learning outcome. Analyze trends and issues in teaching gifted and talented learners. The gifted learners with disabilities are individuals with exceptional potentials who have the capabilities of performing high ability skills even with the presence of impairments or disabilities. Gifted learners with disabilities, sila yung may mga pambihirang kakayahan o talino kahit na may kapansanan. Kumbaga, hindi hadlang sa kanila kung ano man ang disability ang meron sila. So, these conditions are not limited to learning disabilities, emotional and behavioral disorders, hearing impairments, visual impairments, physical disabilities, which manifest either alone or in combination. Furthermore, those individuals are often called as twice exceptional, double-labeled, or those with dual exceptionalities. Gifted with learning disabilities. The prevalence of twice exceptional learners is difficult to identify, mainly because they are usually clustered with groups of learners with disabilities. Napakahirap ma-identify kung anong uri ng impairment meron ng isang gifted with learning disabilities kasi they are clustered as a group of learners with disabilities. The most common and significant feature of gifted with learning disabilities is having an inconsistent. When we say inconsistent, ito ay hindi pare-pareho, unpredictable and inexplicable academic performance. Inexplicable means hindi maipaliwanag. So, kumbaga, in a group of class, sama-sama ang mga gifted kahit na iba-iba pa sila ng pagkakakilanlan. That is why it is difficult to identify the twice exceptional learners. Others may excel in written tasks but may perform poorly in verbal activities. Many of them tend to be inattentive in class, have difficulties in spelling or reading skills, have relationships with peers, and even have low self-esteem. One famous individual of this condition is Thomas Alva Edison, who was unable to read until he was 12 years old. His writing skills were poor throughout his life, but these difficulties did not ruin him to become one of the greatest inventors. There are some famous inventors who have the same condition to Thomas, which is Leonardo da Vinci and George Washington.
Gifted with autism. Another unique intersection happens between giftedness and autism. Some characteristics of these learners include extreme ability to concentrate. Hyperfocus is highly focused attention that lasts a long time. You concentrate on something so hard that you lose track of everything else going on around you. Doctors often see hyperfocus in people who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, but it's not an official symptom. And the second one is for social skills. Struggling with social skills is different from not being social. People may want to interact, but when they do, it doesn't go well. And the third one is extraordinary visual talents. Some learners with condition exhibit repetitive motor mannerisms, have unusual but passionate interest in one topic, and often lack empathy for others and may tend to disengage in social activities that result to having trouble forming friendships. Once you dive deeper, you can see there are some important differences. For example, a gifted child may present an extensive and advanced vocabulary with a rich verbal style. A child on the autism spectrum may have an advanced use of vocabulary, but they may not have full comprehension of the language they use. One famous person with his condition is Dr. Temple Grandin, who has autism and was diagnosed as deaf and brain damage at age of 2, but was tested with an IQ of 137 at age of 8. Dr. Grandin became a prominent author and speaker on both autism and animal behavior and is recently a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. Included in the celebrated list of eminence with autism characteristics are Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, Isaac Newton, Vincent van Gogh.
Gifted with ADHD or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD, Impulsive Hyperactive, as inattentive types are the new catch-all diagnosis for children. These conditions are characterized by difficulty with concentration, distractibility, and forgetful, for they usually pay little or no attention to details. ADHD and giftedness are sometimes described as having the same or similar characteristics. So, why it is the same? Because 2A children or the twice exceptional who are both gifted and have ADHD is difficult to detect. Mahirap kasing malaman ang may mga ganitong kalagayan or sitwasyon, kaya sinabing may pagkapareho sila. At isa pa, wala pang formal na kriteriya para malaman kung ang isang bata ay may ADHD at ito'y likas na matalino. Restlessness, inattention, impulsivity, and daydreaming are the some symptoms of having a gifted with ADHD. So let's take a look at the two important things to have ADHD that gifted. The double exceptionality of giftedness and ADHD is common. The giftedness does not provide protection from the difficult symptoms of ADHD. The giftedness masks ADHD or napoprotektahan ng pagiging gifted ang may ADHD. The giftedness may be so strong that the child performs well, masking the difficulty created by ADHD, the ability to comprehend materials several grade levels above their age peers. Yung pagiging matalino ng isang bata ay pwedeng makapagsawalang bahala sa ADHD. This mismatch in their cognitive and socio-emotional development is a challenging consideration in guiding them learn across the curriculum. Some famous people who fall in this category are Robin Williams and Michael Phelps. The combination of giftedness and disability can deliver a double disadvantage that can make learners hide their giftedness or become unable to know their talents, causing them not to be identified for gifted programs. So, ang pagkakaroon ng isang bata ng likas na talino at kapansanan ay maaari magdulot ito upang hindi nila maipakita ang kanilang talento sa ibang tao, or maaaring hindi nila malaman na sila'y may likas na talinong tinataglay.
These are the following guidelines are critical when creating effective education program for gifted learning disabilities student. Baum 1990, Robinson 1999. First, we have give focused attention to developing the gift or talent in its own right. Enrich does not equate to remediation. Number 2, provide supportive environment that values and appreciate individuals' abilities. 3, teach students strategies to compensate for their learnings problem as well as provide direct instruction in all basic skills. It is important to recognize that not all strategies will work with all twice exceptional students. Proper diagnosis will help develop education plans for those gifted and talented learners. But educators should be flexible to try different strategies among different learners. One of the strategies given to the gifted learners with learning disabilities is RTI, or the response to intervention.
Good day everyone. Since my group mates have already discussed to you the importance of having double disadvantage or the combination of giftedness and disability, we will now move on how to recognize these gifted students among your peers. But firstly, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ms. Bantog Maria Evelyn and I will be your reporter for our next topic, which is the response to intervention. Response to intervention, or RTI, is an early strategy that is implemented within the general education classroom. It is a process used by the educators in helping learners who are struggling with either a lesson or a skill. Kaya po diba yung mga teachers, they tend to give activities and quizzes after ng lesson for them to have chance para mas makilala yung mga students nila by characteristic and also by their capabilities, para mas makalala nila sino yung dapat pagbigyan ng mas madaming attention and who are those students na are in need of intervention. Now, in order for us to identify these gifted students and students that are in need of intervention, we have the general framework of RTI, which its main function revolves around a collaborative, problem-solving, and intervention process with multi-tiered support varying degrees. It also consists of 3 stages, which is the Tier 1, 2, and 3. In Tier 1, students learn at roughly grade level or above and are least likely to fall behind or need intervention. So sila po yung students na usually have the usual classroom routine and doesn't need extra intervention. Kasi sabay-sabay silang nagtitake ng lesson and sabay-sabay din silang natututunan yung lesson. While in Tier 2, these are the students that needed the additional intervention. These students lag well behind their peers, demonstrate weak progress on screening measures, and require some form of intervention. And lastly, the Tier 3, or the students that lag behind their peers by 1 or more years, demonstrate a very weak progress on screening measures, and requires intensive interventions. To sum up, sila po yung mga students na kinakailangan ng one-on-one tutoring because they are the late bloomers, kumbaga. But sabi nga po kanina, kagaya ni Mr. Thomas Alva Edison, although he cannot read up until the age of 12, still, hindi yun naging hindrance to become one of the greatest and well-known inventors. So, yun lang po as for my report and thank you for listening.